Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill and welcome to my vegetable garden. Today is such an exciting day. It's the middle of May and I'm planting my tomatoes. Hooray! I have so much information to share with you, including some things you might not have seen before. So let's jump right in. The first thing I wanted to show you is this red plastic mulch. You know, I've used this for tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, melons, cucumbers, and squash every year for the last several years. And it really increases the production of what I'm growing. What it does is it reflects extra light up into the plants, which is very beneficial. It also warms the soil, and boy, do those types of warm season crops love warm soil. And best of all, I don't have to weed this bed. You'll notice I have my drip irrigation system underneath because I know those tomato plant roots are shallow, they're going to spread out, and so I want to make sure they get water wherever they grow. Now, if you are using a soaker hose, I would put it underneath the red plastic mulch as well. When it comes to growing tomatoes, support is crucial. You need something that will get the tomatoes up off the ground where they'll get good air circulation and the tomatoes will ripen well without having any problems of rotting. Now, in the old days when you'd go to a garden center, the only kind of tomato cage you could find were those little wimpy ones. And typically what would happen, and I'm sure this has happened to you, is the plant would grow, develop some tomatoes, get a little top heavy, and plop, over it would go. It was a disaster. So many years ago, my husband and I had some leftover field fence and we created these really durable tomato cages. They have openings large enough for reaching in and grabbing a tomato. That has worked great. However, what you're looking at here is something I came across several years ago and I am completely hooked on it. What you're looking at is a panel of concrete reinforcing wire. It is 4 feet tall by 8 feet long. It's supported with electrical conduit, which is very inexpensive, and this panel's inexpensive. And then I used a little bit of twine just to attach it a little bit better. This works so well. What I do is I plant my plants on either side of it. I can fit more in a bed, which is awesome. And I use a little bit of twine just to give them a little extra support if they start kind of leaning away from this wire grid. This is an excellent method. It's inexpensive and it works beautifully. What I'm going to be growing in this bed are Indigo Rose tomatoes. That's a purple slicing tomato, and that purple means that it's full of anthocyanins, which are really good for us. I love the purple stems on this plant, as a matter of fact. Now, I started these from seed in late March, and as you can see, they're getting a little bit leggy. Now, what I'm going to do, and what you should do with your tomato seedlings as well, is I'm going to remove some of these lower branches and plant this deeply, probably up to about here. What that will do is it will encourage additional root growth along the stem. And anytime a plant has additional roots, that's fantastic because it helps them move moisture and nutrients more easily and makes them more sturdy. There is one exception to the rule that I just told you. If you are growing a grafted tomato, and look at this whopper that I have here, you do not want to plant above the grafted area on the stem. And if you look closely, you'll see a swollen area on your plant, and that is where the graft is. So you only want to plant below where the graft is. If you plant it lower than that, then the rootstock that this variety has been grafted onto will grow and not the variety that you bought. So remember that. Grafted tomatoes, plant them right where they were in the pot, not any deeper.
So how do you plant a tomato? First, cut a large X into the red plastic mulch. Remove enough soil to accommodate the depth the tomato plant will need to be planted at. Carefully remove the plant from its pot and then snip off the lower leaves, being careful not to nick the plant stem. Place the plant into the hole, and then fill the hole with the soil. Press it in well to eliminate any air pockets around the plant's roots. Every so often I use jute twine and weave it in and out of the wire support grid to support the plants as they grow. The goal is to prevent the plants from leaning away from the support system. Okay, so your plants are in the ground. Now what? Water them in and give them some fertilizer every so often. I prefer to use an organic fertilizer that is high in phosphorus because that will help the plants flower and set fruit. How do you know it's high in phosphorus? Well, that's the middle number on any fertilizer package, so choose one where it's the highest number. And the plants love compost tea too.
If you're wondering where I'm going to grow the rest of my tomatoes, this is the bed. It's 4 feet wide by 16 feet long, and I'm going to use 2 of those panels of concrete reinforcing wire to support them. You know, every year we love to make tomato sauce and ketchup, so I like to grow lots of paste tomatoes. This year I'm growing Amish paste Capuller and Italian Pompeii. Well, I hope you found this video useful, and if you ever have a question, don't hesitate to drop me a note at susan@susansinthegarden.com. Happy gardening!